I'm going to give a small review of episode 1 of The Mandalorian. The I want to talk about one spoiler because I don't. If you've seen the episode, I don't know how you talk about the episode without talking about it. That one item, but I won't go step by step because I want you to be able to kind of like get into the episode and appreciate it for what it is. It opens perfectly because Mandalorians we always equate with bounty hunters. You'll see by the end of the episode, bounty hunting kind of goes from the main focus to kind of like a secondary focus. But how it begins is just like every one of the best Western movies of all time, like The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, El Dorado. Anything that's a Western where you have the protagonist walk into a shady bar to get somebody. This is how it opens. I don't know how you open it any better, so I'll just leave it at that. It's a beautiful scene. It's just I don't know, man. It's just beautiful. You can tell Dave Filoni directed this because the pacing is, and the setup and the how they set the stage or the chessboard per se is exactly how he did it in Clone Wars and really exactly how he did it in Rebels. So you can feel Clone Wars and Rebels with Dave Filoni directing this. His footprints all over it. How it goes about is basically, without giving away too much more, is the Mandalorian is fulfilling bounty contracts. He goes to get additional bounty contracts, finds out there's this one gigantic contract. Of course, he's the Mandalorian. He's going to go for that one. Turns out that the contract is for something much bigger than himself, much bigger than just a normal bounty itself, and probably has world-changing level consequences. So just to get right to the point, there's either one of two things that explains the the last 2 minutes of the show. Either the contents from Legends, the contents from canon, either we've been on purposely lied to in story, that because we were told that Yoda was the last of his species, essentially. And also, his species has never been named. They've never given it an official name. So that's still unknown. We just know Yoda to be Yoda. The only two, on-screen, in comic book mentions of people that have been of Yoda's species is Yoda and the female Yaddle that was on the Jedi Council. So Yoda and Yaddle. So either we've been on purposely lied to, meaning that Yoda was being, cautiously careful of maybe there's others of his race, to protect them, similar to what he did with Luke, truth from a certain point of view type thing to be protective of the greater good. Or, this is my gut feeling, or the Emperor knew just how powerful Yoda was. That Yoda was his equivalent on the light side. And if Yoda had ever been convinced to go to the dark side, he would be Palpatine times 100 because Yoda was just that insanely strong. So here is my gut feeling, is that the Emperor, who loves to clone, loves to mess around with stuff from the dark side, dark side sorcery, dark side alchemy. I think he mixed a little bit of that with some cloning. I think he tried, he because he had access to the Jedi archives, he had access to the Jedi information, because when he, through Order 66, he made his throne chamber and he made his new temple, his headquarters per se, inside the temple on Coruscant. So, because the Jedi had built their Jedi temple on top of the ruins of the Sith, basically the Sith temple, because the Sith held Coruscant for a millennia. The Jedi took it back, and as kind of like a intergalactic fuck you, they built their temple on top of the ruins of the original Sith temple. So Sith dark magic powers, resided underneath the Jedi temple. So it was only fitting that Sidious took it over and built his new temple on inside the Jedi temple. So he had access to everything, the archives, everything. I think that he got enough information to try to clone Yoda in the attempts and the hopes to turn him dark. And then he would have his perfect apprentice. Palpatine was always trying to get his perfect apprentice, from Maul to Darth Tyrannus to Darth Vader to try to get Luke. He's always trying to get the perfect apprentice. That's also how I think, to explain why we saw a dark side Rey figure at the end of the second to last trailer. I don't think that's a vision. I don't think that's anything. I think that's why Rey saw so many of her selves in that cave in The Last Jedi. I think she's a straight up clone. And so I think the same thing with Yoda, that he cloned Yoda to turn him dark, to have the apprentice that could not be defeated, to basically have an invincible ally. So that's what the Mando finds at the end. The reason why I feel this is because the Empire, the Imperial diplomat that hires the Mando for the job says taken alive, but he said also, dead is acceptable. And the Imperial scientist, because he was in the white outfit, he said no, he wants him alive. So I think that Baby Yoda is as a science experiment. The scientist wants him alive. The Imperial governor knows how dangerous he could be either way, so he said take him alive or kill him, doesn't matter. And he was even setting it up by saying bounty hunting is a complicated profession. He was almost like setting up the excuse for him already it's all right if you kill him. He's more of a pain alive than he is. Then we got to do something with him anyway. So that's what I'm thinking, because those are the only two explanations. So because Yoda was told he is the last of his kind, so apparently not, because Yoda died at the end of the Return of the Jedi. The current timeline we're watching in The Mandalorian is exactly 5 years post Return of the Jedi. So either Yoda and Yaddle did the deed, scissor grind, or Yoda thought he was the last of his kind, and the Emperor secretly cloned him. I still have to work out the 50-year timeline. I'm not, because Sidious, to my knowledge, even by then, didn't have his grand plan in place 50 years prior. So I don't know. I'll work it out. But that's my best guess, because Yoda, he was a steadfast Jedi. They weren't allowed to love or be with anybody. That's why Anakin fell. So I don't think, I was being funny about him and Yaddle, but I don't think he did the deed with him. So I think I know it. The species look similar, but that is he looks just like Yoda, just 850 years younger, So that was the oh shit. My brain melted when I saw it, and then I had to watch it now 3 more times just to go, what am I seeing? When I saw the little green sprigs of hair poking out over the blanket, I about lost my ever-loving shit. When the blanket got pulled down, I lost my shit. I was just like, what? So anyway, that's what I'm looking at and thinking about for episode 1. If the series is even half as good as episode 1, we are in for an absolute treat. So I will give out a review come the second episode.